We had Sheryl Crow on, who, of course, lives in Nashville and is tied into that community. Sheryl was willing to talk about the gun violence, the madness of a gun culture that is now embraced by only, if you look at the poll numbers, embraced by a small segment of Americans. 90% of Americans want universal background checks. 75% of Americans want red flag laws. Majority of Americans want the banning of military-style weapons. And yet, there is, and I know, it's kind of like Republicans will say one thing about Trump off camera and another thing on camera. It's the same thing with a lot of people in country music. They hate the violence, they hate the extremism, but they're scared to speak out.
Yeah, it's interesting, Joe, because we've had now really two major gun incidents that have hit the core of the country music community. Obviously, the Route 91 shooting, the largest mass shooting in United States history at the concert in Vegas, while Jason Aldean was on stage. And then this most recent terrible school shooting at the Covenant, Christian school in the heart of Nashville. And I think that this really has started to change, I think, how some artists are looking at this. We saw at the CMT Awards a few weeks ago, country music superstar Kelsea Ballerini speaking out, saying that something needs to happen here, dedicating part of her appearance to the victims of the Covenant School. A letter was just sent recently to Governor Bill Lee that was signed by a number of country music artists, Maren Morris, Kelsea Ballerini, Casey Musgraves, T.J. Osborne, among others, calling for the legislature to start taking action and legislating some form of gun control. And that was important because in that letter, they talk about how a lot of these people are gun owners who signed this letter. They believe in the Second Amendment. They believe in the right to bear arms, but they also believe in common sense reforms so that we can keep our kids safe. When we talk about Christianity, religion, faith, things that are pillars of many country music songs and themes in the country music genre, well, part of that is protecting life. And it would be immoral not to do something about gun reform when these types of things are happening at a Christian school, for crying out loud. What more do people need to see to start realizing that this is a problem that needs to be legislated? That's the solution. Thoughts and prayers aren't enough. You actually have to take action. And I think as this debate starts going forward, especially in Tennessee, I do think we're going to see more country music artists speak out.
Well, and we had reached out to Ketch. We want to get him on tomorrow to talk about this. And Kurt, maybe you can come back and to continue this conversation. But Claire, there is a real need for people, not just in country music, but across the South, to speak out, because this is not happening like in Marxist halls, it's like young Marxist meetings of greater Manhattan. I mean, this is happening at country music festivals in Nashville where people are just shot. I mean, just like shot like the fish in a barrel from some guy like up 20, 30 stories high. You got people in Christian churches in Texas getting gunned down and still living with the horrors of that massacre. You got, of course, this Christian school in Nashville. So it's not just the others, which a lot of times Republicans, if they can just say, oh, there's a problem that's impacting the others, we don't have to worry about it. It's not the others. It's a Christian school in Nashville. It's a country music festival in Vegas. It's a Christian church in Texas. I mean, day in, day out, these crises happen to everybody. So shouldn't they get engaged?
Well, to state the obvious here, I think the most influential people around gun culture in the South are not politicians. They are, in fact, evangelical ministers and country western stars. That would be the most important place for people to begin to speak truth to this fetish we have with military-style weapons in America. And I think all the evangelical ministers have an opportunity, and all the country western stars have an opportunity. What is holding them back? What's holding them back is money. It's money. They are afraid that they will not be able to get the support from their congregations, and they're afraid they won't be able to get the support of their fans if they speak out. So, Kurt, I'm curious. Can you speak to that? Can you speak to what happened to the Dixie Chicks when they just had the nerve to criticize George Bush on stage? And why is it that the country western genre is so afraid of stating the obvious right now about these weapons that are slaughtering children?
You know, it's interesting, Claire, that you bring up what happened with the artists now known as the Chicks, because I do think that plays a lot into the fear that artists feel now. Everyone saw what happened when the Chicks spoke out about the war in Iraq, and even though they were right, by the way, they were ostracized from the entire country music community. Country radio stopped playing them. It's one of the things that people associate with country music and political activism. But I do think one of the things that encourages me again is the times have changed. A lot more artists, especially the younger artists, not the old guard guys, but a lot of the younger artists like the Casey Musgraves, Mary Morrises, T.J. Osborne's, Tyler Hubbard's, are speaking out. And I remember not that long ago, Eric Church, one of the largest, most successful country music artists in this format, spoke out against specifically the NRA. And while he may have caught some flack on social media, he's still selling tickets. He's still putting butts in seats. He's still moving units and selling albums and being successful. So I think we have seen tangible examples of artists speaking their conscience and not suffering commercial consequences, and we need to see a lot more of that.